trying to figure out who's at fault here. None of the blame really goes to you because it sounds like you came in afterwards to help SolarWinds clean up. But you did seem to point your finger at Microsoft. Why?
Well, when you look at these attacks, obviously they're very sophisticated. We talked about that in our testimony, and I think all of the witnesses did a great job there. Part of the challenge that we saw in these attacks is identity and the ability to become someone else and bypass authentication, two-factor authentication, which many of your viewers might be familiar with. And what we saw here is these attacks move from on-premise networks to the cloud, and there's a lot of complexity in the Microsoft architecture and their environments. And, we pointed that out. There's things that they can be doing better, and as an industry, zero trust is one of the areas that we've certainly pushed and promoted, which is why we did an acquisition of Preempt late last year.
So, George, what is it that we still do not know yet about this hack at this point, and why?
Well, we don't know what we don't know. And when you look at the sophistication, a big part of the overall goal of this threat actor was to remain undetected. And, fortunately it was detected. FireEye found it, and credit to them for coming out with it. And, as an industry, it's a very difficult task when we think about supply chains, right? They actually were infecting a software supplier, and it makes it really hard to find those. But I think it really does highlight to not only governments but also board of directors just how persistent these threat actors are and how sophisticated they are. There's a lot of effort, a lot of people power that went into this to make this particular attack successful. So, what else is out there? This is probably the tip of the iceberg, but that's why we get up every day and work on protecting our customers 24/7.
In terms of not so much what else is out there, but what might be next, George, looking at a couple of the recent reports you guys have released, do you think the healthcare sector, including specifically vaccine-related information and data, could be next on the target list for various hackers?
We do, and we've seen that targeting over the last year, as you might imagine, anything related to COVID vaccines, COVID therapeutics, of high interest, for a variety of reasons. And we've seen that targeting. One of the other areas that we talked about was also big game hunting, and that was directly targeting companies to profit from things like ransomware. So when we look across the spectrum, we kind of break it down into nation-state actors, into e-crime, and into hacktivism. And I'll tell you, e-crime is booming, so much so that we actually created an e-crime index just to track how it goes up and how it goes down, mostly up at this point, because they're making so much money in that area.
SolarWinds was obviously a major reminder for organizations, both government and private, that they need to be doing more. What's been the impact on spending in your sector, George, for your company and broadly as an industry as a result of what happened?
I think when you look at the industry and you look at these sort of events, they are watershed events, and I think people continue to take notice. And security, unfortunately, is a little bit, like the house getting robbed, right? People tend to get alarms afterwards. They tend to add more insurance afterwards, and then they forget about it, right? But these events remind us that we have to be vigilant, and it reminds us that these threat actors are very sophisticated, very persistent. And in many cases, it's, the average company is outgunned. You're talking about nation-state adversaries focused on individual companies. And again, it's folks like CrowdStrike and others are focused on being able to protect these organizations. But it really is a difficult task, and many companies are outgunned, and they need to make sure they've got the right level of security, up and down their organization.
George, are you done on the acquisition front for the time being, or are there some more small bolt-ons that might take place in the year or two ahead?
Well, we were really excited with the Humio acquisition, and that really helps us accelerate what we call the XDR space, extended detection and response, and really synthesizes network telemetry and endpoint telemetry together and provides a fuller picture to our customers. We continue on a weekly basis. I mean, we're always looking at companies, and there's a really high bar, which is why Humio hit that bar, and we're really excited about it. And just the speed and the scalability, we looked across the entire industry in this space, and we haven't seen anything as exciting as Humio in terms of speed, scalability, and just the ability to answer questions that are really hard for our customers. So, really excited about it.
George Kurtz, thanks for joining us.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.